Magandang hapon, Malacañang Press Corps. Welcome muli sa ating press briefing ngayong araw. Makakasama natin ngayon si Department of Migrant Workers Secretary Hans Leo Kakdak para magbahagi ng mahalagang anunsyo. Secretary Kakdak.
Okay, maraming salamat, ASEC Dale. Upon directive of the President, since he learned about the arrests of the around 20 Filipinos, OFWs, in a resort in Doha, Qatar last March 27 gabi, around 10:30. He immediately directed the Department of Migrant Workers, of course, in partnership under the same one-country team with the DFA and our embassy in Doha, to provide legal and welfare assistance to the 20 who were arrested. More specifically, first and foremost, ang tanong ng Presidente, kamusta na sila? Their welfare, their well-being. Kaya't nagkaroon tayo ng welfare visits with our one-country team under Ambassador Melicor. We had our labor attaché, his name is Attorney Ed Ferrer, along with our retained Qatari legal counsel, conduct visits in the detention centers, in the jails, where the 20 were held. There were 12 males, there are 12 males and 5 females and 3 minors. And of course, we know na unang nakalaya yung 3 minor de edad, naiwan yung 12 kalalakihan and 5 na kababaihan in separate detention or jail facilities. The second and more important, should I say, directive of the President was to secure their immediate release. And with gladness, we report today that, of course, based on the President's directive to secure the immediate release of the 17 who are still detained, the Qatari authorities, in 2 separate batches, the males at around 2:30 a.m. Qatari time, and the females around 4 a.m. Qatari time, were provisionally released pending investigation. So this means they have their liberty pending investigation. They're able to all go home to their respective homes in Qatar, in Doha, and able to spend time for themselves and their loved ones. But at the same time, since they are still subject to investigation, patuloy yung pinag-utos ng ating Pangulo na legal assistance, legal counsel, who will provide the necessary legal assistance to the 17 who are still under investigation. No charges have been filed. In fact, the President, when he gave us instructions to secure immediate release, was pointing out the matter on whether or not charges had indeed been filed. And so our legal counsel in Qatar had put forward this point, and to the Qatari authorities. We're very, very thankful to the Qatari authorities, to the Qatari government, for allowing the provisional release of the 17 as the investigations proceed, and as directed by the President, as legal assistance and welfare assistance will continually be provided to the 17. So yun na lamang po.
First question, Jinky Baticados, IBC.
Good afternoon po, Secretary. Sir, since it is provisional release pa lang po, what if po, sir, kapag may nakasuhan, what is the potential penalty?
Yes, I think before I respond to that, Jinky, I need to always put in that reminder to our kababayans to please observe host country laws and regulations. Dito yung nangyari sa Qatar, humantong sa arrests. But when it comes to mass actions and assemblies, they are regulated in their respective host countries. And in some countries, maaring walang arrest na nangyari. But we know there are other countries that have taken note of mass actions and have been monitoring the movements, the behavior of our Filipino communities abroad. So ang mensahe ay mag-ingat lang po, siguraduhin sundin ang batas, ang mga regulasyon ng host countries. And sorry, Jinky, pakiulit na lang.
Yes, sir. If ever lang po, sir, na may nakasuhan or makakasuhan, ano po yung mga potential penalty kayo?
Okay. Ang alleged dahilan ng kanilang pag-aaresto ay yung matter on illegal assembly or gathering without a permit, and gatherings that potentially disturb public security. Ito yung mga aligasyon, okay? Kaya ang legal defense natin will be there ready to defend our 17 from these allegations as directed by the President. So, ang penalties nitong illegal assembly is 6 months up to 3 years imprisonment and a potential fine of 10,000 Qatari riyals to 50,000 Qatari riyals. Subject, of course, to the recommendation of the prosecutor and the discretion of the Qatari Criminal Court. So, yan ang potential penalty. But as I said, part of the legal assistance that have been so carefully directed by the President is to put up the best legal defense for our 17 kababayans.
Maricel Halili, TV5.
Magandang hapon po, sir. Sir, ano po yung naging argument ng Philippine government or at least yung basis na inilatag natin to convince the Qatari government na bigyan ng provisional release itong 17 Filipinos?
Yes, ang main point is yun nga, that they had been detained and an inquiry as whether charges have been filed. Wala pa naman sa ngayon, so perhaps it would be best to secure their provisional liberty in the absence of charges and while investigations are still going on. We know for sure that the Qatari Prosecution Service is still conducting its own inquiry and investigation. Of course, we are also, dahil welfare check ang gusto rin ng ating Pangulo, we want to know for sure if our 17 kababayans are medically safe, are in good physical condition. So in fact, one of the things that we will do, of course, under the leadership of Ambassador Melicor, our labor attaché, will bring in medical help and assistance to check on the 17. So, medical condition would be another argument or point raised there in terms of ensuring that they are all physically in good health.
And of course, sir, habang nasa provisional release sila, hindi sila pwedeng umuwi dito.
Yes, they could not travel outside of Qatar while the investigations are going on. But ang mahalaga dito, provisional liberty is still liberty. And that's very important to the President, and that was the first and foremost, alongside the welfare aspect, is to secure their immediate release.
And sir, just so we can have an idea, usually po ba sa Qatar gaano kahaba yung procedure, yung mga legal procedure nila bago naglalabas ng decision yung korte?
Well, we know for sure na sa Qatar ay mabilis naman ang dispensation ng justice ang mga proseso proceedings. I cannot just peg the exact timeline or date so as not to raise inaccurate expectations. But at this stage, rest assured, our legal counsel will also be there to look out for, among other things, yung speed, yung determination ng ultimate findings ng Qatari side para masettle once and for all, no? Yung kasong ito para sa kapakanan na rin ng ating mga kababayan.
Tristan Nadalo, Newswatch Plus.
Hi, Sec. Good morning. Good afternoon. Sir, siguro po meron din kasing mga sentiments online no regarding dito sa 17 Filipinos na na-detain na alam naman nilang bawal yung pagsasagawa ng political protest or ng any demonstration, and yet ginawa pa rin po. So nakausap na po ba natin sila on ano po ba yung explanation why they push through with that activity knowing na posible silang maput at risk?
Yeah, meron na mga pag-uusap. There were jail visits, no less than 5 jail visits. Again, as directed by the President, number one concern was the welfare side, well-being side. So in line with that, there were jail visits. But I can't get into details at this point. There is an attorney-client relationship that is confidential, and most of the conversations will be related to the legal defense to be foisted in behalf of our kababayan. So I hope you understand muna, hindi ko muna may divulge yung mga exchanges between our labor attaché, our legal counsel, and the OFWs. But right now, they are just given time to, again, rest and spend time and message and communicate with their families. But in due time, of course, Ambassador Melicor and Labor Attaché Ferrer will be meeting them. Again, in should I say, in terms that will be in line with yung preparation also for their defense. So again, a lot of this will be confidential. I hope you don't mind, and I hope you understand.
Last follow-up lang. Sir, siguro po kasi syempre, 'di ba, yung sa iba yung pinaglalaban nila. What kind of message does this send, at least for the Marcos administration, na kahit iba po yung paniniwala ng mga OFW, tinutulungan pa rin po ba
Yeah,
sila?
the message this sends is care for our people, for our OFWs. That's the first thing in the President's mind. I have been personally communicating with him for the last few days, at paulit-ulit niyang sinasabi yung making sure that the welfare, well-being, and the release will be secured. We also have to emphasize that this is mandated under the law. The President very well knows the mandate of the DMW. Parati niya kaming inaalalahanan tungkol sa pangangalaga ng ating mga OFWs, lalo na sa panahon ng matindi nilang pangangailangan. At ito yon, di ba? Second, I always like to point out that there were women and children involved in the arrest. And for a while, mga unang oras, may mga 2 o 3 na hinanap pa kung nasaan sila, yung detention center. So there really had to be interventions made. So we're thankful na nakalaya yung 3 minor de edad. So there really was no other recourse but a humanitarian and legal and welfare assistance course of action that the President had so directed.
Reminder na lang, sir, sa mga OFWs na para hindi po umabot ulit sa ganito.
Good point. At the same time, paalala po sa ating mga kababayan na sundin namang ang batas ng host country. Ulitin ko yung sinabi ko kanina, maaring sa Qatar, aresto ang kinaratnan. But remember, hindi kailangang may pag-aresto para hindi maging sumunod sa batas ng host country, because in some countries ang reaction ng host country is monitoring, surveillance ng activities ng Filipino community. So kailangan talagang mag-ingat, doble ingat, triple ingat, dahil kailangan sundan ang batas ng host countries. And ako naman din sasabihin ko, I will also be the first to say, tanyag naman ang OFWs sa pagsunod sa batas ng host countries. We have always been good citizens, residents of host countries. Kaya tayo naging sikat sa buong daigdig. So, we are very confident and sure that our OFWs will continue to comply with host country rules, laws, and regulations.
Ivan Mayrina, GMA7.
Secretary, seeing at this point, up to this point, that no charges have been filed, are we definite that the Filipinos were being held for mass actions? Because I was just watching a video on social media of a Filipino in Qatar claiming to have personal knowledge of the incident, personally knowing one of the 17, and claiming that they are being held not for mass action but for expired QIDs.
Well,
How true is that?
yung personal opinion at rekomendasyon o anuman ng isang tao is one thing, Pero yung nakikita ng Qatari authorities at kung ano ang inimbestigahan nila at kung ano yung magiging depensa natin doon is another thing, and that will be the subject of the investigation. I hope you understand, Ivan, hindi ko muna sasagutin ng detalyado yon kasi kasama yan sa pagtulong, legal assistance at defense natin sa kababayan natin. Yung mga detalyadong aspeto ng bakit kayo naroon, ano ang hinala o charge ng Qatari side. All of these things will come to the fore dun sa investigation, and our lawyers are well equipped to address this in defense of our people. So, hindi ko muna tatalakayin yung bahagi niya. That's a very, very sensitive area. And the opinion of one, should I say, will not necessarily will have any bearing dun sa proceedings before the Qatari authorities.
Thank you, Secretary.
Ira Panganiban, DZRJ.
Sec, I was just going to ask,
Right.
regardless of whatever happens in the case, whether it goes sideways, upwards, or northwards, is it safe to assume that these people who were arrested will be told to leave Qatar? And how is the Philippine government going
That in itself will be the subject of the investigation. So, hindi ko pangungunahan ng investigasyon, hindi ko pangungunahan ng Qatari authorities, hindi ko pangungunahan yung firm legal defense that we will put up for our people.
Pia Gutierrez, ABS-CBN.
Sir, outside of their legal troubles, yung meron po ba sa kanilang nawalan ng employment because of the incident? And is the Philippine government ready to provide longer-term na welfare assistance sa kanilang re-employment and repatriation if it comes to that?
Yeah, wala pa tayong detalyeng alam sa ganung aspeto. But as you know, in the past, di ba, yung mga issues natin about airport delays here or disasters here that prevent our people from going abroad, nakahanda yung mga labor attaches natin, MWO personnel in tandem with the embassy, to reach out to the employers and explain, right, what happened and what could possibly happen if an OFW will, for instance, eventually be given another opportunity to work abroad or in the same host country. So, wala pa tayong detalye kung ano nangyari sa kanilang employment, but rest assured, our people on the ground will be there to do all they can in terms of reaching out to employers, in terms of how best we could work in the interest of maintaining the employment of our OFWs. Actually, not just for this case, but in general, right? Alam nyo na yun, na trabaho talaga ng labor attaches natin yun.
Do you have more question for Secretary Kakdak?
Ano lang? Ano? Taiwan. Oh, what about Taiwan? I think sumagot na si CES doon, di ba?
Tanong ko lang yung readiness natin, sir, in case there's a
Yeah.
need for massive...
We will
massive
go
action.
by the statement by the good executive secretary that the Philippine government stands ready. Under the Marcos administration, we have been meeting to discuss the contingency plans. But having said that, we also would like to assure our OFWs and OFW families of the safety of their loved ones in Taiwan and anywhere in the world, dahil handa naman ng Philippine government under the Marcos administration na tulungan sila.
Thank you very much, Secretary Kakdak. And maraming salamat, Malacañang.
Salamat po.
Magandang hapon.